All right, welcome back. So simple posture, but a really effective one, and that's tabletop. So with tabletop, really great foundation pose. Remember, every pose is mountain pose or Tadasana. So basically all we've done is tipped mountain pose down onto its limbs. So when we're looking at the body, if needed, make sure if your students need knee padding to absolutely pad the knees. We have yoga jellies, folded towels, half foam roller, anything that they need to lessen the sensitivity of their knees. Things that may cause sensitivity in the knees are things like arthritis, maybe they have bone spurs, maybe they've had a replacement, and so sometimes even a blanket laid down where they would normally kneel during practice are just all effective little tools that may help your students along the way. Okay, so setting up tabletop, never assume people understand simple poses like this. So we want to make sure the knees are under the hips. I have my students check that. Look at where your legs are. So when they look down, bloop, their knees are right underneath their hip sockets. Great. Their ankles and feet are straight behind their knees. So ideally, they can't really see their feet. If they have restriction in the hips or something gummy is going on, a lot of times the feet will cross in towards each other. So just opening the feet up may become a little hip stretch for them. Bonus. All right, so when we look at the hands, the wrists are going to be right under the shoulders. If my students have their hands quite a distance further forward, I'll simply come over to them, come down next to them quickly, and just line up and say to them, you want your wrists under the shoulders, and draw a straight line down to where they want their hands to be. A lot of times people will go, really? That close? Yeah, that's the width between your shoulders and your pelvis. I can't make that up. That's your body. So sometimes that's just such a great awareness point. Now, Lainey is a great person to work with because she has very mobile joints. And so she has a lot of hypermobility in her elbows and in her knees. So she has to work really hard to keep those body parts in a comfortable, neutral position to the best of her ability. We are all built differently, so don't ever confuse working neutral with someone with trying to shove them into a pose. Everything is within reason. This is just a blueprint. So once Lainey positions her hands nice and wide and open, fingertips are pointing forward, she's going to rotate from her shoulder socket, not her wrist, not her elbow, externally, that means out, so that the folds of the elbows point straight forward. If I just let Lainey go gung-ho, she's going to actually have a lot of hypermobility. The fold of the elbow looks distended out. We don't want that. So she actually has to pull back a little bit because those ligaments are so overstretched. And this is just maybe even the way she was born. This is just how her joints are. We're all different. She's going to have to use her muscle to make up for that slack. It's not an easy process, but it's something each time she comes to the mat, she's just going to keep working on. Once she's done that, we also want to assess what's going on in the upper back. People either do one of two things if they're doing something extreme. They sink into the shoulders and sag their head down. It's a lot of work to use your shoulder girdle this way, even in a simplistic way. Or they over-round. They try to use so much core work that they end up hunching and rounding the back like a cat pose. So all I do is I come back behind the student and I just kind of rub on their back to smooth it out so their back is nice and broad. We're not looking for rounding, we're not looking for sinking, we're just looking for space. And a lot of this space has to do with the proper rotation of your arms. And then finally, where their head is, I can just bring my arm right down her spine and just use my fingertips to tip her head down. For many of us, and this has a lot to do with technology, using computers, driving, and handheld devices, we tend to have a forward head. So a lot of people tend to push the chin out and even look forward. There's nothing for you to see forward. Look straight down to keep the length of the neck. Finally, the rib cage, just like mountain pose, is going to be lifted up and in. Hip bones and pubic bone are parallel with the floor. So her back is nice and long. You're not going to be able to see as an exaggerated curve in the lower back because of this position with gravity and the way you are, but it's there. We're not trying to flat back it. We're trying to honor the integrity of the body. So if she chooses to do anything from tabletop, she's ready, set, go. She has the alignment that she needs. Great job.